Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, popping, locking, salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the mashup. Welcome to the welcome to the mashup.
Welcome to the Mashup.
So this dog, good dog, mostly good dog. He's been doing this thing all summer. Got lilac bushes, and he picked one random branch, and he's been reefing on it and pulling on it and trying to get it to break off. And he loves sticks in general, and so this has been a big deal for him. And every time he's out running in the yard, goes over to that lilac bush, reefs on it a little while. He's never gonna get it though. It's a fairly hefty branch, and so. One time he wasn't there, nobody's looking, and I went and I pulled it like almost all the way off. And so then, of course, because he's a disagreeable bastard, he doesn't go anywhere near it for like 2 weeks. I'm like, he forgot about it. And then he goes over, he's got the zoom, he's running around, goes over to the lilac bush, grips it, pulls it free, and just and then he's running around all happy. But this isn't a stick, this is a branch. And so every time he's out in the yard, he runs over, grabs the branch, and then he's trying to run around with it, but he can't really maneuver anywhere or do anything with it. And he's always getting caught in his neck and having a great time and loving it. And you have never, I don't think there is anything you could ever give a dog that will make them happier than a sense of accomplishment on ripping a branch off of a tree.
Is that your good deed for the week? I feel like it is.
Showing off. Oh, shoot. I forgot to put a hat on. I'll be right back. You keep talking.
Well, welcome to Mashup 177. Twos doesn't want to show off his messy hair, I guess. I don't know. Twos, I thought you looked great. I don't know what everybody else thought. Welcome to Mashup 177. I'm saying Twos, he's not here right now, obviously. But it's good to have him back on the show. I'm excited to, it's Vesper. I know you're probably watching. It's always great to have somebody step in and fill in a role. Can't speak highly enough about people hopping on this show, but to have Twos back with a hat on, looking sharp. I'm surprised you're not wearing the hat I got you. When do I get to see that?
Well, I was literally, it was sitting right next to this one, and I'm like,
interesting.
It's like when at the end of the first Iron Man movie, when Terrence Howard, right before he went crazy, was like looking at the suit and he says, "Next time, baby."
Well, welcome to Mashup 177, folks. It's good to be back. If you like the show, make sure to like, share, and put it out there. Happy Airborne Friday, Jamie Sinclair and the boys. We got a full show today. We got our first guest in the background. We're going to bring her on right away here because I assume her schedule is very tight. But here, how about we start here? Katie, welcome back to the show over at Universal Ostrich Farm. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, Katie.
Thanks for having us.
By the way, just real quick question before we get into the rest of it. You went with Universal Ostrich Farm and not Universal Farm of Ostriches.
Yeah.
Which would give you UFO as an acronym.
Oh, that would have been good. Thanks.
I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
That was a missed opportunity, but we've had many more just this last 10 months. So
that's a fair point.
Well, yeah. I think for us and the audience, just bring us up to speed, Katie. I think everybody's been watching social media and all the different things going on. Obviously, you being on ground level, you can tell us and bring everybody up to speed of where all this sits.
Well, this week was a big week. This last week, we were baited by the RCMP. Well, the RCMP first rolled in probably about, I think it was like 50 police cars, ghost cars. They have the task force here. They have command centers set up about 5 kilometers up the road. They have drone units. They have had helicopters, and we're just farmers. We're not criminals. We're not armed, and we're just trying to protect the welfare of our animals, and which has led into obviously the opportunity to learn that we need to try and save the agricultural industry in Canada as well. So they all rolled in. They took over. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency is here as well, and it was very surreal. We were standing in our pens. We knew they were coming because everybody was saying that the hotels were booked up solid. There was hundreds of police cars in Vernon. And then we had people watching the hotels for when those cars were going to leave. And so we had about an hour and a half notice when those cars were going to arrive. And we had some people watching down the highway to give us another 10 minutes notice. And we were just standing in our pens with our ostriches. And we had our supporters standing hand in hand down our public road. And when you looked at the highway and you turned around and you're standing with your animals, one of them that's 35, and you saw headlight after headlight after headlight after headlight of police cruisers. It was a moment that I think we'll have PTSD forever, because we have murderers and pedophiles and rapists walking our streets. We had a missing child in I think the Crow's Nest Pass at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's only a few hours away. Well, maybe like 5 or something, probably.
Yeah, maybe they should have went and tried to find a child. Maybe they should have did something better with their resources and their time. And so it was a surreal moment for a lot of people. And then that led into a bit of a day of negotiations by a family, basically now named Jeff Godry, and helped us with that. Then we had, they moved in, and after a couple days just sleeping in the pens with the ostriches because they wanted us out, they were trying to serve us search warrants. And those search warrants were there was 3 of them. They expanded our quarantine zone. There was 3 properties. They actually took over our sorry, just one second, Jeff. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, the background. So there's the 3
all good.
We are literally in a farmhouse that's in active turmoil all the time. 3 properties. One was my aunt's, and it's a private property. That private property, they didn't get served. They didn't have any notice, but yet the police came in, opened their gate, took over my aunt and uncle's property. And then we were standing there again, just watching everything.
So
unfold.
they didn't have a warrant for your aunt's property?
My aunt had no idea. She had never been contacted, and they had not received a warrant. They said that they slapped one on their trailer of the RV on their property that they're not at. But that was just not true. Everybody was screaming at them as supporters saying, "What are you doing? That's private property." But they just went in and took it over anyway.
So, yeah, my understanding is that the RCMP can't enter private property unless they have A warrant, B, they're in hot pursuit of a suspect, or C, there's exigent circumstances. So if they see somebody having a heart attack or something like that, they can. But my understanding is those are the 3 instances. And I just want to say, to your point before about the murderers and rapists, Canada is basically the only country in the world where we give rapists bail and we sentence ostriches to death.
Yeah, this is a surreal moment, and then once they pushed the search warrant papers on us, and we did receive them, they let us know then that we had lost all the rights to our property, that they were taking over our property on that side. Our animals were in their care now, and we were to leave the pen. Well, my mom and I decided that no, we're here, we're in the pen. And let us humanely care for these animals while they prepare, while we were still waiting for our court for our lawyer to go through the judicial processes. Let us care for these animals. Let us feed them humanely, maintain their routine, maintain their health, maintain their stress levels. Because just when they had arrived, they had drones flying over really low, put our whole farm into panic. We had hens and roosters hitting fences. We had a hen hit a fence. She flipped over the fence twice. She almost broke her leg. And so we just said, let us stay with these animals and keep them calm. And finally, a few hours later, from us in the pen, we got notification from the RCMP, or Canadian Food Inspection Agency, a green light that we could go feed them. And we got in the farm truck, went to feed them. We started at the back corner. Should have started, I guess, at the front corner. And at the minute we were far enough away from supporters or anybody to start to do filming, But we were surrounded by 4 police cruisers, and they told us to get out of the truck and arrested us and told us we were under arrest. So that was another moment of looking at, my mom in handcuffs and going, how is this Canada? What is happening here when we are just farmers trying to do the right thing and keep our animals safe, even while they're preparing. We were not impeding their actions. We were not violent. We were not being aggressive. We were asking for them to allow us just to care for the animals. So,
were there any charges pressed?
There is. So we'll have to go through those. They're trying to say that we impeded an officer from following out his duties. Then Section 35 of the Animal Health Act, paragraph 1, that they're trying to come after us with. So we will be addressing those charges. My mom and I have a no-go order on that side of the farm right now. And the ostriches are in the care of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency right now. Again, where, it's a little bit weird to say that it almost feels like, that the wolf is in the pen with the sheep. Mm-hmm. And they have been making it very clear that they don't want anybody to see what they're doing. They've cut off all of our live stream cameras, security cameras. We have video of them cutting the cords, taping over the cameras. And again,
do they have any legal right to do that?
The lawyers following through, looking at that. So they unplugged our Starlink. They basically, I guess the biggest question is, what are you hiding, right? What are you hiding that we didn't?
Absolutely.
We weren't hiding. Those cameras were there for protection. And if anything, those cameras would have protected them if they have nothing to hide, those cameras would have protected them, showing the world that they were doing the right thing, not the wrong thing.
They would vindicate them if they were the good guys.
Yeah. Another thing they did, this is just complete emotional or mental warfare, is they actually went out there after we were arrested and removed, and they took over the property, and they went screaming, saying it's an emergency, and screaming all through the barns, hoping that it would flush out people. But it put everybody on the property in panic. So it was this, again, just tyrannical behavior of emotional and mental warfare. And this is a display of complete punishment. And what you see here, we're being punished. This is not justice. We stood up to them. We challenged a policy that is meant to be challenged. It's been in operation for 21 years. It is putting our Canadian farmers at risk and Canadians at risk of their nutritional food supply and our food security and our sovereignty, with being led through the directives of the World Health Organization, the One Health Agenda, and the United Nations. And this is punishment. What you're watching here is millions and millions of dollars, the Canadian taxpayer dollars, punishing a hardworking family that's standing up to do the right thing.
Absolutely. So basically, the RCMP, at some point when they were there, they saw one of the ostriches put their head in the sand, and they got mad because they thought they were being made fun of.
Oh, man. They don't put their head in the sand, but you're probably...
I know it's a myth, but I mean, here's the thing: is you've got these African, like, they migrated here from Africa, and typically in Canada, what we would do is we would give them all $3,000 a month and put them up in a nice hotel in downtown Toronto. But they're not even doing that because if I'm understanding the way this all played out correctly, you committed the most heinous crime possible in this country, which was when they said you need to kill all these birds. You said, well, what if we just tested them first? And they said, no, if you test them, you'll be fined $200,000 and get 6 months in jail. Mm-hmm. And that's the most heinous crime you can commit in this country, is questioning a bureaucrat's decision.
Yes.
Because a test would verify whether or not that decision they made was appropriate.
Yeah.
And
for 10 months, that's all we've been screaming for, is allow us to do a live virus test, throw out your PCR test, and that from 2024, December 2024, let's do serological testing. Let's do the appropriate testing to show the world that these animals are still healthy, or that they are healthy. And but that goes against their bigger agenda. There's you can see here that this has nothing to do with virus. They've broken multiple quarantine rules. The RCMP have been in the hot zone, driving around with their police cruisers. They're up at the fence in the quarantine zone. They're getting in their cruisers. They're going back to the city. They're going to hotels. They're going and eating out. Then we have the Canadian Food Inspection Agency breaking quarantine right at the fence in the quarantine zone, no PPE. And then we were arrested. They were in their hazmat suits out in the field to arrest us. Then we proceeded to get in the police van. They were in their hazmat suits when we got out to be where we were detained at a provincial sandpit. And then one of them was still wearing their hazmat suits out of the quarantine zone. And so
what
we
if
were like,
you just got the ostriches to wear masks?
oh, we'd probably solve this a lot faster.
Katie, how many cops? How many cops are there? Like guesstimate.
Right now, what would you say, Jeff? How many are here?
Total, roughly
right now?
100.
About 100?
About 30
cops?
About 70 during day shift.
Yeah.
100 cops are there?
So we have about 70 during the day and 30 for night. So they do night shift, day shift. So we're doing night shifts and day shifts. And then we have our task force, remember this, that is sitting on standby up at the command centers. That is not including the command centers full of the chiefs and the chief officer and everybody up there. Then they have medics and stuff that they have to have that are up there. And
I mean, with all that police presence, you guys probably feel really safe though, right?
Oh, safer than ever. Thank you for
adjusting. Well, the going back to the missing child in Crow's Nest Pass, I was talking to a first responder yesterday and then this morning. So please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe the child has been found. But as of this morning, when I was texting with them, the child was still missing. So I'm like, 100 cops sitting there.
Yeah.
When you point to that, what's more important, a child's life or, I think we get the point, but I'm like, the excessive force of 100 police officers being there is pretty wild when you got a missing child, hours away. And the fact that child is still missing, I believe that was
one child. And this is questioning a bureaucrat. You got to have a sense of perspective here, Sean.
Yes, I realized too. Okay. There was a video I saw with First Nations stepping in. Could you explain that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that and the Supreme Court.
Yeah. So thank you.
Okay, so we put out their plea for natives to Indigenous to get involved, that to help us protect these animals that hold medicine. They deserve the right to be protected and treated and protected humanely. And we had the signatory Indian band step up. And so we are working with them for protection and protecting the ostriches, protecting the land. There's some more stuff coming out with that. We did serve them with their notice and that of protection. There was a kind of a contract. And then we are waiting for one more document today. There is another gentleman here that just arrived as well, and he has some interest with their band to assist and help us as well. Supreme Court, we got our interim stay right at the very last minute, basically before they were really setting up to start to kill the animals. We said a big prayer, big, beautiful prayer on the bleachers. Just finished that prayer and my phone rang from Omar Sheikh. He's just doing an amazing job. Our lawyer out of Victoria, letting us know that we had our interim emergency stay granted by the Supreme Court of Canada while they decide if they're going to take the case on, which they should take the case on, being that the international interest that this has, being that this is now has Indigenous rights and Indigenous interest. This has made it even more that valuable, and that why we should have our say in there and time in court. That would allow us the full trial. So this would be very important for us. Our whole Court of Appeals and decisions have been based off the December 31st call date. And that has really limited us to what we've been able to put in for evidence. Our expert witnesses that are top epidemiologists, virologists, and that these people, these expert witnesses, everything should be able to be heard. So if we are allowed in Supreme Court, that will allow us to talk about the full 255 days of health, them being a recovered flock if they were sick. why they're so important to research and humanity. If they actually had one of the most virulent strains in Canada of avian influenza, and they're surviving and doing so well, they actually have more value than anything, because we should be researching, why are they alive? How are they alive? How did they heal? What could we learn from them? What could we use their antibodies to protect humanity? And could this help on a global scale? So that adds a value to us, actually, rather than needing to eradicate them. Another really big, beautiful thing, actually, is we got the full endorsement of the Darwin Foundation. So the Darwin Foundation is endorsing us, and Sir John Barlow, the fourth. Sir John Barlow the fourth is going to be coming here for a press conference. And that is just extremely, extremely a big win. Conservatives, the BC Conservatives has stepped up, and we are starting to get more momentum in the House and getting a lot of time on question period. So I'd like to say thank you to John Rustad, Mel Arnold, of course, Scott Anderson has just been super important in all of that. Jordan Keeley, an MLA. But I think there was a video of me crying out in the pen, feeling just at the very end of our rope, saying, where's our leaders? Where's our own politicians? And why are we relying on international support only?
Have you heard anything from PETA?
Nothing. No. Nope. The only place we've heard from the Animal Justice Center. Yeah, Animal Justice. And so it's been disappointing. But I think it's kind of opened up a lot of eyes into these organizations or foundations, that why aren't they standing up with one of the largest causes right now in Canada, and especially with so many animals at risk. We see, it's been disappointing, but at the same time, I think the right people have stepped up at the right time, and we've just been fortunate for that. So. But yeah, everybody asks that. I think everybody's reached out to Ducks Unlimited, PETA, to
Ducks Unlimited isn't really.
No.
Talk to a farmer who's tried to work with Ducks Unlimited in the last 20 years, and I think you'd probably get a decent idea of why they're not really interested in that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, Ducks Unlimited isn't the organization we remember when we were kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts, Katie, before we let you out of here? Two's any final questions, I guess.
No, I think you did a great job of detailing where things are at and what's going on. Ooh, one side note, I saw that Rebel brought out a helicopter after the drones were banned, which I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure if they can ban people from flying drones over your private property. But was there any attempt to stop the helicopter from surveilling as well?
No, it was really funny. So while we're detained, my mom and I are sitting on 2 plastic chairs in the sand, up in the sun, like sitting in the sunshine up there, and we're looking up above, and we hear a helicopter, and I'm looking, and I was like, I thought that there was a no-go zone, no fly zone. And so we're looking, and this helicopter circling us. And I was like, well, they must be having a heyday with this. It's Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And it kept tilting. And then when we got home, we found out that it was Rebel News had a helicopter was circling up there. And then the chief in command up there came running out of his trailer, and he's like, that's not our helicopter. That's not our helicopter. It was just this big panic. But
how dare other people use the things we have?
Yeah. But we've had those drones are flying over our personal residence. We know that they're listening. They're following us as we walk around the property. Drones are following us.
Hello, RCMP. You guys are watching right now?
Yeah.
Smarten up, guys. Not in the background. RCMP, if you're listening,
they just
try not
down
to
the
be
door.
such giant dicks.
Yeah. Well,
please, on behalf of everybody.
This has to be, the world has just erupted with this display of punishment versus justice. And I think that we have a really great opportunity here with people coming together, showing that we don't need to wait for the government to do things, but that people can protect each other. And that we've seen that with the display of businesses, that once these businesses found out what their rentals were being used for, they actually called the Canadian Food Inspection Agency asking for their rentals back.
Yeah,
And-
I saw some stuff about that. I was going to ask you, and then it just slipped my mind. So thank you for bringing that up.
So thank you to Clearway Car and Truck Rentals. Thank you to Sunbelt. Thank you to Holiday Inn. And for just standing up for the right side of history and just saying, you know what, we don't stand for the inhumane killing of almost 400 animals with no testing. And we're not going to allow our equipment to go and be part of that. So thank you for standing up. And just goes to show that we can make the changes when we use our companies, when we use our voices to protect one another.
Katie, thanks for hopping on and
Thank
giving
you.
an update there live on, Universal Ostrich Farm. Thanks again.
Awesome.
We're
Thank
thinking
guys
of you
for-
and rooting for you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you later.
I love how Twos adds in a head in the sand joke about ostriches. I'm like, Twos has got to be Twos on this show. Well, we'd have it no other way, I don't think.
Tell me I'm wrong.
We got another guest sitting in the background. We want to bring Sean in right now. We might as well. He's
Sure.
sitting
Yeah,
there.
I mean, he's been very patiently waiting, and thank you for that, Sean.
All right. Sean Buckley, welcome to the show.
I've got my poor little camera thinks I'm far away. Can I comment on Katie, because it was
Sure.
actually just a pleasure to hear her. And she and those standing with her are heroes. And you've raised the point. They're basically standing up to bureaucrats. And the problem that we have is out of 1,000 farmers that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency shows up and says, we're going to slaughter your animals or do this or do that, 999 bend.
Yep.
And, so Katie is the exception, and those standing with her are the exception. I mean, the only
She's the
other
ostrich among chickens.
Yeah, but if everyone stood, I mean, even if you're not able to get the public attention, but if they knew every time they were coming that the farmer wasn't going to bend and there were going to be charges and there was going to be yelling and screaming,
They back off.
that it's the only way to slow this. And, you do get punished. Everyone who stands up gets punished. I mean, the only other Canadian Food Inspection Agency case that's similar to this is where farmers in Ontario, the Farmer Peace Corps, kidnapped or sheep-napped a whole bunch of sheep the day before the CHFA was going to come and slaughter them, because the flock, you don't know that story, the sheep-napping story.
I'm feeling like we should have had you on with Katie at the same time. I want to hear about this, please.
I'll come back, and Katie and I have spoken about this. So years ago, there was a flock of heritage Shropshire sheep, and there's a voluntary scrapie program. Scrapie is kind of the sheep version of mad cow, except humans don't get scrapie by eating sheep. It's been with us as long as we've had sheep. So there's a voluntary program where you just collect the brain stem of sheep that die, unexpectedly, although sheep die all the time. And when you have, 10 or so, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency will show up and grab them and test them for scrapie. Well, there was this rancher in Alberta that was in this program, and lo and behold, a ram, if I remember correctly, it was USA 379 was the ear tag designation, tested positive for scrapie. So a ram from the United States tested positive for scrapie. Well, the whole Canadian Food Inspection machine gears up. Oh, we got to eradicate scrapie. And the way they do it is they will basically go to every flock that's come in and gone out from that herd for several years, and they will genotype them. Certain genotypes are more susceptible for scrapie, so they'll start slaughtering the most susceptible and see if they find scrapie. Now, they're about a week in. They haven't done anything yet. And then obviously there was a call from Washington saying, we're not having a sheep from the United States test positive for scrapie. So literally, you see on all the paperwork, they scratched that out and they put in another one, which was apparently a ewe from Montana Jones's ranch in Ontario. But the problem is just so you know, they quarantine all these herds all over Canada. They don't realize that this ewe that apparently, is the ewe that tested positive for scrapie, they have quarantined perfectly alive on another ranch. They never figured that out. So, but this flock, so Montana Jones's flock, was rare heritage Shropshire sheep. And Rare Breeds International said if you slaughter this flock, they'll become extinct. Rare Breeds Canada said if you slaughter this flock, they'll become extinct. And Montana Jones, the rancher, said, well, just quarantine them, because everyone knows if you just keep live testing them over a period of time, that testing is as robust and accurate as the dead testing.
Mhm.
But the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, true to form, would not relent. So the day before they showed up, a bunch of farmers got together and took them. And they were on the lamb for, almost a year.
Oh, nicely
before
done.
they were found and slaughtered, and there was no scrapie. But now they'll be extinct. So thank you, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, on behalf of Canadians that want to be in a police state.
Well, Sean Buckley, it's always
On
a
the
pleasure.
lamb.
It's always a pleasure
Yeah.
to have
Yeah,
you
that
on,
was a
'cause you're-
joke. Another joke is that I say, thank goodness it wasn't goats, because kidnapping is very serious.
Ah.
But it was a tragedy,
Well,
and it's
I mean, you'd
it's like
think there'd
these
be more bleeding
ostriches.
hearts about it.
It's like these ostriches. It makes no sense. You'd actually think because they survived and have natural immunity that they should be protected. But that's common sense.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. You're trying to apply common sense to a bureaucratic government organization, and you think that it's the first mistake. It's a common mistake. Lots of people go in with that assumption that if it's a big, giant, poorly oiled machine that we dump millions of dollars into, it's going to have some semblance of logic or reason attached to it at some point. And if you don't go in with that assumption, then pieces actually start to line up a little bit more.
Yeah,
Now-
and hold that thought for when we get to the health issue that I'm here to talk about. But this ostrich farm and what Katie's doing is too important. So just the point I wanted to stress again is she and those standing with her are heroes because they're standing up. And the problem is we all have to stand up. It's out of control. And in almost every bureaucracy, it's out of control where they don't feel they have to be accountable. And when people stand up to them, they feel that they have to go to the wall just to teach us that resistance is futile. It's almost like the Borg in Star Trek, resistance is futile. Well, I have news for you, Government of Canada. Resistance isn't futile, and we're not going to give up. So,
well, let's bring on then the topic of what Sean's here to talk about. You're going on the World's Greatest Health Show tour, October 4th to 25th. Walk us through it, Sean, and I don't know, bring us up to speed and maybe where you're going to be stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So first of all, so we have a problem in Canada, and again, it's bureaucratic. So we've created our drug laws so that everything's a drug. Oh, literally, you're drinking water to treat dehydration. That's a drug.
Dihydrogen monoxide.
So everything's a drug. And all drugs are illegal in Canada. So we're not allowed to use anything for therapeutic purpose unless Health Canada approves it in the form of a license, which from a legal philosophical perspective is just absolutely outrageous when it comes to things in our food. So we're holding for 3 weeks, 4 days a week, an online health show all day. But we're having ordinary Canadians explain how for their natural remedies, many are only alive because of them. Many, we've got people totally disabled and they become well. Like the stories are absolutely compelling, but it's illegal for people to be told this information because we have 100% censorship of truthful health information in Canada. We've got all these benefits. We've got this whole different medical system that gets better results. And it's illegal for those who know, the practitioners and the manufacturers, to share them. So we're sharing it because Health Canada is in the process of removing our natural remedies. And there's millions of us that are only alive because of them. There are tens of millions of us that would be disabled without them. This is like pure life and death. If I can give you an example on how ridiculous censorship is. Years ago, I'm in a court case with Health Canada and I'm cross-examining a psychiatrist that they've brought in as an outside expert. And the psychiatrist runs a company that gets psychiatric drugs approved by Health Canada. And he's complaining to me under oath, you know, it's so hard to get a new antidepressant approved because I have to give Health Canada 2 double-blind clinical trials showing the statistical separation between the sugar pill and the drug that we pretend means the drug works. And he says, you know, I run 8 right out of the gate. I run 8 at the same time because I've learned I have to run 8 double-blind clinical trials to get the 2 that show the statistical separation between the sugar pill and the drug that I have to give to Health Canada to get approved. Now,
So
hang on a
he
second.
abandons
I haven't
sticks.
gotten
Is that am I understanding that correctly?
What's that?
He does 8 tests so that out of the 8 tests there will be 2 that
Yeah,
show.
he runs 8 clinical trials. Now the other 6, they could be inconclusive.
Yeah.
They could show the sugar pill works better than the drug. They could show the drug works better than the sugar pill, but the safety signals are so bad they don't want to share them with Health Canada. They could be a combination of those things. I haven't even gotten to the juicy part yet. Obviously, it's offensive that he doesn't have to give all 6 to Health Canada.
Mhm.
But what's truly offensive, and most people find shocking, it's illegal for the chemical drug company to share with you the failed clinical trials. When people complain to the chemical drug company of deaths and injury, it's illegal for the chemical drug company to share the reports of death and injuries with you. All that a chemical drug company can share. So if they get that antidepressant approved, they can say it's an antidepressant. Now, the researchers hired by chemical drug companies are free to publish whatever research they want. So we have publications in journals, so we can access published research literature. For some reason unknown to me, the researchers paid by chemical drug companies tend to publish the successful trials,
It's
not the
baffling.
unsuccessful trials. I have no explanation for that. There must be some good public interest reason for that. I'm being completely facetious. But
Mhm.
most people don't understand that we have 100% censorship other than the approved treatment claim. And this so operates against natural health products. So the reason we have this censorship is to protect our government-funded healthcare system and protect the chemical drug companies. Because we've set up our drug approval laws so that the only drugs, by and large, there's always the odd exception, but by and large, the only drugs approved to actually treat conditions are chemical drugs, which is why if you go to the hospital or your medical doctor for anything, by and large, you will be offered a chemical drug treatment. And that's because we've structured our system so they're the only ones that get approved. Chemical drugs are awful at treating chronic illness. In fact, the whole paradigm doesn't work. We've kind of created this structure, but I just want to stay on censorship. So if we knew, that you had to run 8 double-blind clinical trials to get the 2 for approval, and you didn't give the other 6 to Health Canada, we'd be out. We'd lose confidence in the system.
Mhm.
If the law was, and the law should be, that you have to share all health information about any treatment, if we knew there were those, 6 failed trials, we'd never
But we
take the
wouldn't.
antidepressant.
They'd lose them in a boating accident.
What's that?
That they wouldn't release those other 6. They'd lose them in a boating accident.
Yeah. Well, and most Canadians don't know that drug trials are run on lakes and oceans. So, I mean, it would make perfect sense for that to happen. I'm just kidding about that. So, but let's talk about how the censorship acts against the natural products. So natural products, nobody's worried about safety signals because, there are risks there, but they're so small. For example, peanut butter poses more of a risk than all of the natural products on the market because peanut butter causes deaths every year. You can go decades and decades and not find any evidence of even a suggested death caused by a natural health product because we're talking about ingredients in our food supply that we consume as foods. Like why we wouldn't expect deaths, right? So nobody's worried about the safety data, but let me just give you an example. So I'm in Alberta. The Alberta government stumped up a whole whack of cash to run a double-blind clinical trial on a vitamin and mineral supplement for an Alberta company called True Hope. And that clinical trial is being run by a branch of the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Calgary called the Behavioral Research Unit. So they're running it out of Children's Hospital in Calgary. This Behavioral Research Unit, for like 25 years up to that point, they were created, and all they do is run clinical research, like clinical trials. So this is what they do. So we have a branch of the Faculty of Medicine that runs clinical trials, running a clinical trial on a vitamin and mineral supplement that you can buy in your health food store. And Health Canada shuts that down, but there's still published research from it. And for that product, there's like 30 peer-reviewed, government-funded, from governments around the world, peer-reviewed government-funded research published in journals, and many of them blue chip, like Journal of Psychiatry, Journal of Child and Adolescent Psychopharmacology. It's illegal for that company to share that with you.
Sean, you're going on tour across Canada to talk about these things more, get different citizens to talk about their experiences, professionals, etc. Walk us through this so the audience knows what's coming here in October.
Okay, so what we're doing is to solve this problem. Years ago, we drafted a health charter, which is a piece of legislation we need the government to pass, and it'll solve our problems. So it basically entrenches our health rights and makes the federal government actions and laws subject to the health rights the courts say that we have.
You're answering the question right before I ask it.
Okay. It basically takes the regulation of natural and traditional remedies and creates a new ministry with actually a legal duty to protect and promote them. And it creates a regulatory environment that demands good health outcomes. So Health Canada is under no legal obligation in the Food and Drug Act to act in the public interest, let alone get good health outcomes. And they don't. I mean, we don't have time for that here.
I don't think MAID would be a good health outcome for anybody, right?
Yeah. So we drafted this charter. Well, we started a paper petition. And for years, people have been sending in, filled in petition forms. We're now the third largest paper petition in Canadian history. So for the last 157 years, this is more Canadians have signed this than any other petition except two. We have over 150,000 signatures. So we're going to drive that petition across Canada. We're starting in Victoria on October 4th. And for 3 weeks, we're driving to Ottawa. 2 weeks in, we've got a group starting in Charlottetown, PEI, and driving to Ottawa, and a group starting in Quebec City and driving to Ottawa. We're meeting on the Hill on October 25th. Now, along the way, we are having events at night, and we're going to broadcast those. But we're also going to broadcast during the day, 4 days a week, an online health show. So we start at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to start with opening statements that I'll give, and then we'll be having ordinary Canadians sharing this forbidden knowledge of how they're changed. We're going to have health experts. It's going to blow your mind. It's absolutely going to blow your mind. And then when we have the events at night, those will be live broadcast also. And the idea is to change the narrative, to let Canadians know this is a life and death issue. There are benefits. Let's have a reasonable discussion. Let's regulate these, understanding we need to protect the benefits. Good regulation, you look at the benefits and the risks, and then you arrive at how do we get the best health outcomes. And it's time for that. Like we just, we're listening to Katie talk about Canadian Food Inspection Agency. I mean, Health Canada is just as bad of a machine. I don't have time, but I could talk about court, a court case where the court found as a fact that Health Canada killed people and acquitted my client, saying like, thank goodness you didn't listen to them and were defiant. Or it's legally necessary for me to acquit you because it was legally necessary for you to break the law and defy Health Canada. So it's part of our standing up, and Health Canada is in the process of bringing in this self-care framework that's totally going to gut our industry and totally gut our access. And if we want to get out of this chemical drug model, so go to nhppa.org. We've got an interactive map there. It sets out all the cities we're going to be in. So if you're going to be in any of those cities, please come to Ottawa
Sorry, real quick. You said nhpp.org. You've got nhppa.org.
Yeah, it's NHPPA. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
misspoke.
All right.
And
Sorry.
and
Just,
that's
just
a
so everybody
mouthful.
knows.
It's just we call these products natural health products. So the first part of our name is just natural health product, and then protection association. So
You're going to be in Lloydminster here in the studio as well, Sean, which will be exciting. But you're going to be in Lloydminster October 14th at the Legacy Center. But once again, nhppa.org if they want to find any other of the spots you're stopping, correct?
yeah, absolutely. So like I say, you will see an interactive map. So when you go to the homepage, right at the top, there's a tab, find out more about the tour. And if you scroll down there, it shows all of the stops from, all three directions. And and then we'll also have a live page as we get closer. So that'll be in the next couple of days. You can watch it live off our website. We're going to stream it on Rumble, stream it on X, stream it on, Facebook. We'll try YouTube. We've kind of pre-run some videos, and curiously, things like the word antibiotics is flagging some of them, right? That one surprised me. Like, we're not, this is, but we're in a world of censorship. It's funny, we had a Twitter space or an X space yesterday, and a ton of people pre-sign up. No one could find it.
If you take chlamydia away from the leftists, what do they have left?
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's just quick aside. I know I'm going to piss off half the people watching. Just full disclosure, I'm fairly skeptical when it comes to natural medicine. Do you guys have any resources, or are you guys planning on addressing, just laying things out for people who aren't on board yet?
Oh, so actually, I mean, even just what comes to mind quickly is there's 3 medical doctors that are presenting that all of them had practiced for at least 40 years. And halfway through their practice as medical practitioners, they transitioned to integrative medicine, 2 of them becoming homeopathic doctors. And, and they describe the differences in results. And, and you're going to have person after person after person. Let me just share 2 examples, and then I'll have to go. And I'm picking stories that, are not the most scary ones. But, we had one lady, Marion, who's working at Health Canada at the time of the story in Ottawa. She's a PhD immunologist, and she has chronic fatigue syndrome so severely that it's all she can do to structure her life around work. She can't do anything other than work at Health Canada. And by way of example, she explains during the interview, she got fed up one day and just said, I am going to go out for supper with a friend. Now, she can't sleep at night, so she takes the day off work to nap as much as she can. She's at the restaurant. During the meal, she passes out and actually face plants into her food, which ended for her any extracurricular activity. She couldn't drive home from work. She'd have to nap so she wouldn't pass out in her car. She's a young woman, so she's got no social life. She's getting depressed. Her immune system's shot because she can't sleep. She's catching everything. And she was quite clear, if I didn't find an answer, I was going to kill myself. And the Canada's, leading specialist on chronic fatigue, she consults and he says, well, we don't have a treatment. There's nothing we can do for you. Well, she comes across St. John's wort. Within 24 hours, she's sleeping the night. 2 decades later, she's never looked back. Now, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? And how many people like her are suffering? Just another story that I want to share you. It's not a serious one, but a young mother who the doctor diagnosed with restless leg syndrome. So what would happen is at the end of the day, the minute she got off her feet, she describes it's like electric shocks into both legs and the muscles are twitching. So she can't sleep. The only way to stop it is by walking. So she's up all night walking with this restless leg syndrome. Well, she's tired as can be. I mean, it's already tough.
But in the best shape of her life, probably.
With 2 young kids.
Yeah.
She's becoming grouchy. Her immune system's compromised. She's catching everything that comes her way. She goes to her doctor, who says, well, yeah, you got restless leg syndrome, but we actually don't have a treatment. But what I can do is I can write you a prescription for a drug for Parkinson's disease. And she looks into that, and it's just scary. Like, no one on this call would dare want to take it unless they were so suffering from Parkinson's that they thought maybe it might help. So she doesn't know what to do. She goes to a naturopathic doctor who's like, well, yeah, you need magnesium biglycinate. And within, 2 days, it's gone. And when I shared this story with a whole bunch of other people that I've been interviewing, and it's kind of like, well, yeah, like it's common knowledge. Like it can't hurt you. And if you're having muscle twitching, it's so likely that kind of first line of defense, just try that. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. It's kind of like you dehydrated, drink water. Well, why didn't the medical doctor suggest that? We've had the 3 medical doctors that we've interviewed so far. They said, like, you only get 2 to 3 hours of training in nutrition. Well, here's the problem. And then I have to run because I have an appointment. Here's the problem. And this might be a shock. And so if people say, oh, this Buckley guy's crazy, I'm just going to stand by this. And this is shocking. The human body needs certain nutrients to be healthy. Oh, who knew? And Health Canada and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which has control over our food supply, has so structured things that you can't be healthy. You cannot in Canada get the nutrients that you need, even if you're eating organic. You must supplement. You're going to be chronically malnourished. And when you're not getting the nutrients you need to be healthy, you're not healthy. And then that manifests as sickness. And then we treat the symptoms with a chemical drug when you're suffering from malnourishment. How many people just need magnesium? If you list the symptoms of heart disease and you list the symptoms of magnesium deficiency, they're identical. How many people are being treated for heart disease when they have magnesium deficiency just because we've picked magnesium? Our system is so broken and so backwards, and there's so much suffering, and there's so much death, and there's so much money being made that it's just outrageous. And that's why you need to follow this tour, because we need to break this narrative.
Sean, thanks for hopping on. If people are wondering where they can find you, nhppa.org. And best of luck on the road trip. Stay safe, and we'll look forward to having you here in Lloydminster October 14th.
14th, yeah, looking forward to it. And thanks, guys, for having me on your show. It's because of shows like this that people like Katie can stand up, right? So, yeah, you guys are doing a great service. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Okay. We are now 51 minutes in, and we have
no idea how many questions I wanted to ask that.
I know. We got lots to get to. Now, do you want me to play the warning? I was going to play the warning, but I didn't even think about it. Should we play the warning? Should we play the warning? Yeah. We're like an hour in.
Just so everybody knows.
The following program contains logic, critical thinking, economics, intellectual honesty, and historical common sense. Leftist discretion is advised.
We got to add that in at the start of every show. Okay. Mashup 177 has been off the rails since we started in the best possible way. Regardless, we got a whole bunch of things to get to, and I'm going to try and keep Tues to task here for the next 40 minutes roughly. Here we go. Good luck. Okay, the Quebec government is banning the use of recently invented gender-neutral words in official communications in what it says is an attempt to preserve the clarity of the French language. French language minister Jean-François Roberge is quoted, "It's as if everyone has their own grammar." He told reporters it doesn't make sense.
I just think this is wonderful. What's not to love about this? I find it astounding, though, that how far has this country fallen? That the lone voice of reason is fucking Quebec.
Shout out to Quebec, by the way. I was getting text, and I should have brought it up. I was planning a whole bunch of things, but I have a Quebec texter, and I'm not talking about Vesper. Vesper, if you're watching, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about an actual other person from Quebec. And I'm like, Tues is getting like wonderful person. Shout out to you, Quebec, because I know Tues rags on you all the time. But yeah, I got a person texting me from Quebec. I thought that was pretty cool. And Quebec, there you go. Toronto experiencing severe housing downturn. Only 118 new condos sell in August. The 118 condos sold marked a downturn of 59% from August 2024 and was 90% below the 10-year average.
90% below. 90% below the average. So that's pretty stinking low. We've been talking about this for a few months. Toronto, for some reason, nobody wants to live there anymore.
There could
Yeah.
be multiple reasons for that. Interim parliamentary budget officer. You want to show the one video? I assume you do. If
Okay.
you don't change, this is done, says interim parliamentary budget officer Jason Jacques.
Yeah, so this is a little bit long, almost a minute and a half, worth every second.
Stupefying, shocking, right? This is not like it's not a funny fiscal outlook.
The public debt charges is $53.6 billion, and that projection is going to increase to in 2030 to $82.4 billion. Is that sustainable?
Every dollar spent on debt is a dollar that is not spent elsewhere.
Again, how alarming is that for the average Canadian, for the taxpayer? Because there is only one taxpayer, right?
It should be very alarming, right? These are, I don't know, I think I use the words in French, and which the translators probably got really well, like stupefying, shocking, right? This is not like it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable, right? Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying, maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done, right? So it's very serious.
It's not only serious, it's
Very serious.
but he's at a loss of words for how serious it is. He doesn't know how to explain it. He's almost in shock. Like
he's talking about how much our debt to GDP ratio is increasing. And he's basically saying that we are borrowing so much money that we are spending on stuff that gets us nowhere, which is basically all government spending, to be clear, that it's unsustainable, that we're done. Basically, we are more or less screwed if nothing changes.
Okay. BP sees oil demand growth until 2030. There's a whole bunch in here. I guess the current trajectory scenario is based on existing policies and pledges. Okay. And it's below 2 degrees scenario reference to aim of limiting global warming to less than 2 degrees Celsius, line with Paris Agreement, blah, 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 blah. Global oil demand is expected to hit 103.4 million barrels per day by 2030. That's the current trajectory before falling to 83 million by 2050. And, like they're just like going off of if the world goes the way of the Paris Climate Agreement, oil will fall, but they're seeing it rise because, the
world is not going that way.
Right.
Yeah. And while that happened, Parliament voted 192 to 140 to endorse Cabinet's oil and gas emissions cap.
Right.
It would cost at least $3.4 billion and 3,400 energy jobs, according to Environment Canada.
Shout out to
Blacklocks.
Blacklocks.
Yeah, so that's not, industry advocates. This is the government's numbers. And that's the same thing with that PBO officer. That's a suit in Ottawa saying, I have looked at the books and we are fucked. Okay.
Here's a new poll from Angus Reid. The number of Canadians listing U.S. tariffs relationship as their top issue plummets to 20% for all demographics. Shocking. The number one is 80% of the time cost of living, unemployment for young Canadians.
Yeah.
I don't think,
Here's another one. How would you currently describe the Canadian economy overall? Everybody is about 2 to 1 saying poor/very poor compared to good/very good, except for 65 plus, who is 48 and 48. The only people who think it's good are the people not in the economy.
Starbucks will be closing down hundreds of stores and laying off hundreds of employees in Canada and the United States, according to an announcement on Thursday. Their layoffs are in addition to 1,000 job cuts the retailer made back in February.
Yep. And what else we got there, Sean?
Restaurants are under pressure as consumers steer away from dining out.
Mm-hmm. And
the city of Las Vegas mayor says the city is suffering from a serious drop in Canadian tourism. Quoted, "We need you and we miss you."
yeah. And did you see the one I put it in a little bit after the fact about the vets?
Yes, the rising cost of veterinary care. Nearly half of Canadian pet owners are avoiding taking their pets to the veterinarian, basically because they can't afford it.
Well, that's exactly it. The biggest problem young Canadians face is the cost of living / unemployment. We got a situation where the only demographic in this country who thinks the economy is working is the one that doesn't work themselves because they're retired. Hundreds of Starbucks closing, restaurants struggling, Mayor of Vegas holding press conferences begging Canadians to please come back. And people aren't even taking their animals to the vet. Now, this is something that's been obvious and it's coming for decades to anyone who understands the fundamentals. And what are those fundamentals? Well, I'm glad you asked, Sean. You can't spend more money than you make every year forever. Supply and demand is a thing, and it applies to currencies. You can't just magically create something out of thin air and expect it to keep its value. This is Pooponomics 101. The value of an object decreases when people know that at some previous point in time, that object was pulled out of your butthole. And when you do that with literally half the money in circulation over a very short period of time, don't be surprised when the entire economy is covered in shit. We're now entering the find out stage. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my actions. Someone told me time is a flat circle. When we were kids, doing this meant you were saying someone was retarded. Fast forward a few decades, and the elbows up people make those little bastard versions of us running around the monkey bars look like we're complimenting each other over tea after lawn bowling. And the whole time, our media pretends it's anything other than the obvious answer. Why aren't people going to Vegas anymore? Elbows up. Why aren't people going to restaurants? Well, it must be solidarity with the employees demanding a living wage. And if they can't find a remotely probable reason, they just default to racism. That must be why Starbucks is closing hundreds of stores, and not because the idea of an $8 coffee has become a memory so wispy and tenuous as to doubt its veracity. Did I really pay $6 for an orange mocha frappuccino in 2014? You know, if I'd have known how bad things are, I probably would have savored it a bit more. And jokes aside, there are millions of people in this country right now thinking that about a cup of fucking coffee from a decade ago. Listen, motherfuckers, the reason why no one is taking their dog to the vet anymore is because they don't want to waste what little money they have left on something that they might have to eat next winter. How many disparate articles detailing the unique ways Canadians are broke does there have to be before we put it together and say that this country is well and truly fucked?
People have been waiting for twos to go full twos. It seems we've hit a nerve, have we?
Tell me
Well
I'm
done.
wrong.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, it's just the table's been set, and here it is. You know, everybody's screaming about how bad it's getting, and you know, you can't. Everywhere we look, it's like it's bad. It's bad. Well, it can't be that bad. And they point to
It's
everything,
worse.
including
worse.
racism.
And
which
then I
is
love how there's just all these different articles, like just all these different articles talking about, oh, Canadians aren't doing this anymore, and Canadians aren't doing this anymore. And why do you think they aren't doing this? Why do the same reason for all of them? Because they're working 80 hours a week and are barely keeping the fucking lights on. That's why they're not going to fucking restaurants.
Tylenol. During a White House news conference Monday, Trump warned pregnant women do not take Tylenol during the entire pregnancy. He said the Food and Drug Administration would begin notifying doctors that the use of acetaminophen can be associated with...
Acetaminophen?
Sure.
How is that new to you? acetaminophen.
Sure. Anyways, with an increased risk of autism, and then, all insanity ensued, too, including
Yeah.
this. I like this. Tylenol, we actually
This
don't
is a
recommend
tweet
using.
from 2017.
We actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today.
Yeah, from 2017. And then Canada just goes full retard. They've got, global news. Experts say autism has no single case. Experts have been wrong about everything for at least the past 5 years. If you want to talk to somebody who's actually going to get shit right, you don't talk to an expert. You literally talk to anybody else. Go talk to somebody on the street, and they have a better chance of being right than any of the experts.
Well, and
that we
it's not
talked to.
only the CBC. Here's CNN. They
That was
list the
global.
time.
We're going to get to CBC later.
Sorry, but here's CNN, right? They have headlines posted. Here, I'll pull it up so people can see this. The latest one: Trump links autism. Of course, the word's got to be in there again, and I can't pronounce it. Acetaminophen, and yes. Anyways, used during pregnancy, despite decades of evidence, it's safe. And then if you go back, through the headlines, 2021, 2017, 2016, common painkillers should be investigated for possible risks developing fetuses, experts say. Studies links, on and on and on. I'm not going to pronounce the stupid word, so twos can make fun of me.
Acetaminophen.
Thank you. Acetaminophen. All right. Welcome
From
to the
the
Mashup,
comments.
where
Look
Sean literally screws up every word on this show. Yes.
Yeah. It's the mashup, Sean. The. Say it with me. From the comments, look, I remember being pregnant in 2018 and my doctor saying they don't recommend Tylenol or any pain medication while pregnant. You got pregnant? Floozy.
Yes. So, anyways, Tylenol thing
keep
has
taking Tylenol during pregnancy, Health Canada says amid Trump claims. It's Tylenol during pregnancy is safe and effective, but because we're all in this together, it should be administered through a glory hole.
Drivers. We've been paying attention to all the things going on the Canadian roads. There's new videos all over. What do you got for us this week, too?
I didn't even listen with the music on yet. I never heard the music.
So it is a semi that is hit a gas station overhang above the pumps. Okay.
Yep. And then here's another one. So this is somebody upset. There's a bunch of East Indian people driving around.
Well, show the video. Show the video. Let me see the video, would you? Yeah, we don't need the music. Come on.
How is this?
So people are upset about some tractors pulling some people. Of all the things that I think that's that's pretty healthy. Isn't that like small town Saskatchewan right there?
Well, that's exactly it. Look, I understand.
Who's going to be upset about that? I mean, if they're going down the highway and really causing accidents everywhere,
crashing into gas stations, yes.
Yes.
If they're lining up a bunch of antique tractors to just do a slow procession down the street, I got to be honest with you, folks. Canada needs more of that.
Well, and I assume there's some farmers out there going, where's the John Deere green, or where's the, I'm sure, whatever color you like, folks.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. The John Deere green couldn't make it because you need an antique, you need some antique $8,000 part to fix it.
You know what? I knew I was going to set you off. All right. When it comes to tractors, people are always touchy about their brand and their thing and their one. I'm just saying it would have been nice to have seen a couple different ones. Strike, please tell me you got a headline for me.
I don't
have a headline for me.
So the Canada Post.
You didn't give me a headline?
Canada Post.
You didn't give me a headline.
Is now on strike.
It's a walk-off. It's a walk-off.
I don't have a headline. I've got Zoolander.
If you're new to the show, we've been following the postal strike for forever, and we've been having way too much fun with different headlines. Tuesday didn't even give me a headline. Okay, the Liberal government says Canada Post is losing $10 million a day and is effectively insolvent and will not provide them another bailout. And basically, the postal union immediately went on strike again.
Yes. So they
I was
also
hoping for a
said
headline.
with that. Well, I told you I had something better than a headline, and I had Zoolander. Okay. So listen to see the motherfucker. Not only did they say they're not providing another bailout, but they are now allowing them to discontinue door-to-door service,
Correct.
which is interesting because a decade ago, Trudeau ran on an election platform against Harper saying, we're going to allow them to do it. Everybody's wrong in this. The right thing to do in this situation is just to say, we're a bunch of idiot bureaucrats in Ottawa. We're not going to make the decisions for you. You guys make the decisions. You're not getting any more money. Govern yourselves accordingly.
They've given them 45 days to come up with a plan to implement the broad restructuring. Yeah.
Now, just for some perspective, in the time it took us to talk about this and do the walk-off video and hear Sean crying, Canada Post has lost roughly $34,722.22.
You liked the 222, didn't you?
That was I just grokked. I said,
Sure.
If something costs
You
$10
were
million
happy when
a
it came
day-
up with 222 at the end, though, weren't you? Come
Hey.
on, be honest. Be honest.
This is like one of the only
Be
instances
honest.
where 222 is a loser and
All
not a
right.
winner.
All right. Guns. Okay. I just had Rod Giltaca on yesterday talking about the latest video that went all over the place. You can show some of that if you like. I liked this right here. This is Chris Sims. The police on Kearney's gun grab quoted, "I can think of a time when a legal gun has been used. I can't think of a time when a legal gun has been used in a crime in this city. Not one. We know the gun buyback program is going to have essentially zero impact on the crime in Toronto." That's Clayton Campbell, President, Toronto Police Association.
Well, I mean, so the audio is like 20 minutes. Even if we were to go through the transcript, it would take us some time. But the key takeaways of this is that the guy who had to recuse himself from dealing with Sri Lankan terrorists is the minister in charge of rolling out this debacle. He said that it was political, that it was going to have no practical effect. In a recording that he didn't know he was being recorded. He encouraged a private citizen to break the law, said that if he was arrested, he would bail him out. And when he talked about the fact that the offered compensation does not line up with the book value of the firearms or what was paid for them, he offered to personally pay that guy the difference. And this guy, as of this recording, currently still has his idiot fuckstick job. Oh,
correct.
And I do want to say, though, there's one little clip. You see, he's been getting absolutely roasted in the entire country, but also in Parliament. And liberals are going to do what liberals do. So when pressed about these things that I just talked about, here is his very well articulated response.
I do want to caution this member that he is really treading lightly in the language he's using, describing a particular group that he's concerned about, Mr. Speaker. It is borderline racism, and I do caution him to take note.
Now, as far as I know, retards, not in the clinical sense, but in that sense, are not a protected class underneath the charter. There's nothing wrong with saying that really stupid people make really bad decisions. I don't think you can be arrested for that just yet.
No different than we said NDP are not a serious party, and that became a segment of the show. I think.
And then how many times have you heard, by the way, oh, this isn't a serious party, or Canada isn't a serious
I know. We had some effect
this for years. Oh, it's totally the mashup effect.
I like liberals going to do what liberals going to do. I think that is, I think we should just start putting headlines under that. Just throwing that out there. Okay. Goofy news. Okay. I don't know if this fits into goofy news. Joe Rogan defends, you're going to criticize, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. Joe Rogan defends Kimmel and tells conservatives supporting censorship, oh my God, you're crazy.
Now, did you watch the entire interview that clip was taken from?
No, I did not.
Okay. So he was talking with that ginger from the Bad Friends episode, or from the Bad Friends podcast. I can't remember his name. I don't know.
Anyways,
he's talking to that dude, and they're going through what he said. And he's like, Joe Rogan talks about how he mocked Tucker Carlson for losing his job. He's like, and that's a problem. And then he made fun of Roseanne for getting fired. And that's a problem. And what he was talking about specifically, this bullshit headline isn't going to tell you. But what, Joe Rogan defends Kimmel. He wasn't defending Kimmel at all. What he said, the oh my God, you're crazy, is if you think that it's great that this government apparatus is going after somebody because of what they're saying, you're crazy, because at some point it's going to be ran by different people and it's going to come after you. That's not at all defending Jimmy Kimmel. In fact, what he said, the closest thing he came to defending him was he said, I can see how he's trying to set up a bit at one point. I can see how he's trying to set up a bit. Should maybe be the quote in this, because that's the strongest defense he gave of him in that. But CTV will lie to you, and unless you go to the source, you will believe it. And this is, you don't hate the media enough in this country.
Another day, another stage visit, this time to a Mexican rail yard used by Canadian Pacific. Here, I'll pull it up. I don't know if Tuz wants to show the video.
So the video is just CTV or CBC talking about this. And so Carney on his big global trip, if you missed the Mashup 167.5, this is where we talked about it. This was the hard-hitting journalism stuff that the regular Mashup was unwilling to touch. They were scared to touch. I don't know if Sean was getting death threats or, maybe his government funding was going to run out, but he did not want to talk about things like this last week. And so I had to do a special episode to bring it all up. And the one that Vesper and I talked about was the fake construction site that got built for a press conference and then got taken down afterwards. This one, put it back up, Sean. Put it back up. I don't care if you get to fund it as much as you want, but we need to talk about this. All right. Canada hasn't shipped wheat in sacks for like 100 years. When was the last time you saw a train driving through Saskatchewan with a bunch of sacks on it?
I would say the last time sacks was the guys that got arrested. What year was that when they went across the border?
Oh, the 96 or something like that.
Something like that.
But that was their own personal stuff.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. The whole point of grain elevators, for those of you unfamiliar with the agriculture industry, those big, tall buildings in the middle of fields that are always right next to railroad tracks, the whole point of them is so that you don't have to use sacks. But they set those up for a photo op. And the problem is that when it's a bunch of idiots in Ottawa doing this, none of them have ever been to a farm. None of them have ever had a callus. None of them have ever gotten a wicker that sliced their hand open. None of them even know what grease is. The closest thing they know is pomade. And they're like, oh, well, if we're going to have a good photo op, we need sacks of grain, because that's how it all gets to the grocery stores, isn't it, Farnsworth? Well, I mean, I'm not an expert, but I do believe you were right, Jansen. Yes. Where can we get sacks of grain?
It's great. Major League Baseball is going to implement automated ball strike challenge system during the entire 2026 season. They tested it out in spring training this year, and obviously they're going to implement it. Tuz, your thoughts?
Well, I feel like a good time to do the testing on it would have been the time that they got the first female ump.
I knew you. I figured that was the nail in the coffin for trying it, wasn't it? I knew exactly you were going to draw that.
They're going to make us, if they're going to make us hire more female umpires that miss more calls than a deer with laryngitis. We're gonna have to get AI to step in.
You know, on this side, folks, I was saying to Twos before we started, 177 weeks in a row. Now, we haven't been together for all 177, but let's say 150, conservatively. It's like, even though I know where your joke's going and why you put it in there, it's still funny to me. And I don't know. That's something.
That makes me feel nice.
Yes. Okay. Trump White House hangs image of Biden auto pen on the wall. Okay, I want to bring this pic. Oh, where did I put it?
I got it right here.
I got it right here too.
Well, I did it first.
Fine.
All right.
Fine.
So he's got all the pictures of all the different presidents all the way along.
And a presidential walk of
from
fame.
His first term. And then Joe Biden's auto pen. And then him for his second term.
I think I don't know. That's funny.
Here's the thing.
Funny.
If anybody's upset with it, I would invite them to please point out how that is factually incorrect. You may have skipped over one, though. Tim Hortons is bringing back their vintage cups. I actually saw one with one yesterday. They're bringing back the vintage cups. And I just want to go through the comments on this real quick. Let's just read the comments. Will they bring back vintage service and quality too? They should be bringing back vintage employees. When do they bring back vintage Canadian workers? They should bring back, white workers. I'd rather be dipped in battery acid without hepatitis. Vintage staff next, please. Please bring back vintage employees. What about vintage coffee and vintage service? What about bringing back Canadian workers? How about the vintage hepatitis-free food and cockroach-free coffee? And we could go on. There's literally hundreds of these comments.
You know, it feels like there isn't a week where a government official just spends the taxpayers' dollar like they're made of it. And I guess at times they are. BC minister slam for $6,600 limousine bill on Boston trip. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation is calling on BC Finance Minister Brenda Bailey to explain why she billed taxpayers $6,645 for a limousine service during a 4-day trip to Boston in 2023, forgive me. And Bailey and 4 staffers attended a conference in Boston with a total budgeted cost exceeding $44,000. Hey,
including over $6,600 to JR Limo Car Services. I like the fact that they got a comment from the BC correspondent for the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. This is a Western Standard article. And you can see the quality in the writing because unlike when Global interviews Carson Binda, they actually got his name right. Unlike Global, they didn't call him Karen Binda.
You realize BC Bailey is now overseeing the largest deficit in BC history at $11.6 billion, $665 million over budget, and is presiding over interest payments costing taxpayers $100 million per week. Did you see that at the end?
Sean, I get the fact that you're scared to talk about this kind of stuff, but that's why I did the special episode where we talked about the fact that they hired a comedian to help with David.
I'd like to point out I offered to come on with you. He said, "No, you're not allowed to come on it." I was like, okay,
I think my exact words were, "You're not invited." Let's be honest about it, Sean. If you had actually wanted to talk about the stuff that didn't get covered, you would have.
Oh, interesting. Okay. There's an indie wrestler named Jesus, and he wrestles without ever touching his opponents. Show the video, too.
Well, I don't know. Do people want to see this video? Of course you do. He caught that guy in midair with his mind. Look at this. Look at this. And power slams him. This is awesome. This is awesome. This is, you know what? The next time someone tries to tell you that wrestling is fake, you show them that video.
Unity Bus will travel across rural Alberta for signatures to keep province in Canada. A red and white Unity Bus adorned with maple leaves will be hitting the highways of rural Alberta in an effort to collect enough signatures for a petition to keep the province in Canada. And that ends on October 28th. They need to have their Signatures in. There
Now,
it is.
look, just a public service announcement. Kids, if any of you are watching this, do not go anywhere near a van that looks like this at all, ever, no matter how much free candy they offer you.
I think following it through rural Alberta could be really fun. That might be pay-per-view action.
Okay. You know, Poly Market, where you can bet on, do you think this is going to happen? I wonder what the over-under is going to be on how many dicks get spray painted on this.
Oh, I was thinking eggs thrown on it myself, but sure. I feel like
Actually,
there could be a couple of choices. I think the betting would be pretty high on that. I don't know. I mean, we're not pushing vandalism, folks. We just go like that thing rolling through rural Alberta. Seems like a risky move.
You're and pink. You're going to roll through rural Alberta with a pink
Unity
ice
bus.
cream bus of idiocy. Like, what do they have, like the ice cream bus speakers, and they're just going to play like the communist fucking Chinese anthem? Some kind of like a communist death march or something. I just, you look at this, you're like, what a schmuck.
NASA considers nuking city killer asteroid before it collides with the moon. NASA scientists are weighing a drastic plan to launch nuclear bombs at a city killer asteroid that could smash into the moon in 2032. Although, like, the percentage of that impact, they've got it almost zero, don't they?
Yeah. Now, why are we so worried about the moon? First off, for anybody who saw the Battlestar Galactica remake, the idea of having the moon with a giant hole in the side of it sounds pretty fucking awesome to me. All right. For those of you who don't know, go out and watch it. Trisha Helfer is gorgeous. I mean, Katie Sackhoff's no slouch either. All right. But here's the thing is that they're worried that this is going to end up for the next several years pelting the satellites around Earth with tiny little micrometeorites.
Debris. Yes.
Yeah.
Debris.
Yeah. But how cool would it be for there to be how cool would that be to see? That's the thing of a lifetime. You look at that, you're like, all the cool stuff from Armageddon without any Ben Affleck.
A very mean squirrel seeking food has sent at least 2 people to the ER. Residents of San Francisco Bay Area City are on the lookout for an aggressive squirrel.
Now, for those of you listening at home, you might be thinking, well, of course they're scared of a squirrel. They're from San Francisco. And while that's kind of my sentiment, we actually managed to track this down from the archives. This is what it looks like when things get squirrely.
With an acorn. Ow! Fucker, fuck me! You little bastard! Hey, fucker, get off me! He's attacking me.
So, yeah,
I don't know, why is that so funny? I mean, the little bugger is going after it, right?
Well,
that's funny.
I
to
mean,
me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting that he was kind of attacking his head. I would expect the squirrel to go for the nuts. But just be careful, folks.
Squirrel on the loose. Yeah. Remember when we had moose on the loose? Canada's mayors, councillors want a fast tracking of projects that fight climate change. More than 250 elected officials across Canada have signed onto a campaign calling on the federal government to prioritize major infrastructure projects that help fight against climate change. And they're calling themselves...
Stop you there. This is everything you need to know about this article is in that first sentence. 250 elected officials across Canada. How many councillors do you have in the Lloyd Town Council?
I think it's 7 plus a mayor is 8. Or
7
is it
plus
6?
a mayor.
6
right?
and
Every
1. It
small
might be
town
7.
is going to have something like 4 plus 1, all the way up to maybe, Calgary. I think it's 12 plus 1.
Sure.
So every municipality, and like that's the urban municipalities and the rural municipalities all have that. Alberta's getting ready for the municipal elections right now. And you think about all those signs you see and how every single town has a different set of signs. You've got Tim Glass, who I don't know anything about him, but I think he might be an idiot because he's running an Airdrie for town council. I saw a sign that said Tim Glass. How do you run in politics with a name like Tim Glass and not say anything about transparency? There's a woman in Calgary. I saw a sign. Her name was Jennifer Weenus, and it said, "Say yes to Weenus." And I'm like, I think I need to hang that sign by the bed. This is every single one of these people is running for one of ballpark a half dozen different positions. I could probably drive for 20 minutes, a 20-minute radius around where I live, and I could find 250 elected officials in this type of role. So the fact that they did a Canada-wide sweep and they found more than 250 tells me that they had probably about 198,750 that said no fucking thank you.
And I like the next line. They're calling themselves Elbows Up for Climate Coalition. I think that tells you all you need to know. Ford government to table legislation banning speed cameras in Ontario.
It's the right thing to do and the wrong way to do it.
Explain, Twos. Explain.
The smaller government needs to be right. No matter how stupid the idea, no matter how asinine it was. This is the same thing I said when Toronto said they wanted to ban handguns. You guys are idiots, and it's not going to make a lick of difference. You're putting a lot of time and effort into something that's going to accomplish sweet fuck all. You're dumb for even thinking it's going to work. And I fully support your efforts to do so for your community.
You wanted to comment on this.
Yes. So this is a tweet from David Moskrop, who is a politics writer, author, podcast host. And for those of you who don't know anything about him, he has his Blue Sky link in his Twitter bio. So this is that guy. And here's him complaining about the fact that he says, jokes on them, it's always monopoly season in Canada because the country is run by 3 companies. The crazy leftist is starting to point out the fact that the country is ran by a few very small a small group of very large cartels. The leftists in this country, things are so bad in Canada that the pronoun people are one photo radar ticket away from getting a bunch of MREs and stockpiling silver.
Patty Haydu, show the video. Show this video.
Do we want to show this video, Sean?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You're damn right.
Liberals going to do what liberals going to do, Twos.
Mr. Speaker, do you know what the best predictor of future behavior is? Past behavior. That's right. And Canadians have watched.
This is her getting a standing ovation from the Conservatives for saying that. Not at all understanding why they're cheering, and then watch Stephen Gayballs in the corner poke his head around and be like, what's going on?
Mr.
Let her say it one more time.
Speaker, do you know what the best predictor of future behavior is? Past behavior. That's
yeah.
She
doesn't get it.
Sometimes it just writes itself. Ottawa assembling AI task force as it prepares refreshed strategy.
Yeah, and so they've got this compelling photo of Evan Solomon, who, interestingly enough, was a journalist and he was a political commentator and he did all of those things for years. And then once he got out of it because he got fired for facilitating, basically brokering all his connections to facilitate art deals to people, including Mark Carney, he disappeared for a few years and then came back as a liberal, won his seat, and is now the Minister of AI and Bullshit. And here is him. What a rousing, perfect picture of him. Look at all the poise. Look at him. Just, don't look at it or in the dick, but that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. Now, interestingly enough, That's an article from CTV News, the same place that he worked at, the same place that put up that picture. And okay hand gesture, bowl cut added to hate symbols database. The OK sign that Evan Solomon is making in there from the same news organization that's reporting on Evan Solomon is a hate sign.
You can't make this up. Happy news this week. Apple TV has indefinitely delayed the release of their new TV show, The Savant, starring Jessica Chastain. The series follows an undercover investigator who infiltrates hate groups online to detect and prevent domestic extremists before they act.
Yeah. I mean, it's just really interesting the way they put all this time, effort, and money into making this show, dropped a trailer, which got absolutely eviscerated because, it doesn't show everything because it's a trailer. But basically the gist of it is that she goes online into chat forums and, I don't know, presumably joins Discords and roots out all these far-right extremists. And there seems to be a little bit of blowback. It's almost as though the winds of change are afoot.
And Connecticut to ban first cousin marriages, which are still legal in at least 16 states.
Yeah. Go figure. Connecticut, which is right next to Massachusetts. Like it is a little bit more than a stone's throw away from Martha's Vineyard, but not much. And apparently they are now, because it's 1925, they're banning first cousin marriages. So, yeah, I mean, I'd see that as kind of happy news. I don't know. What about you, Sean? Who's the hottest cousin you have?
Weird question. Community notes. If you got some, send it to us right now.
Why are you avoiding the question?
What are you talking about, Tews?
Well, because they're making it illegal to marry your cousin.
Tews, who's your hottest cousin, Tews?
Chad.
All right, there you go. Chad it is. Okay, wait a second. We have a bunch of different things to get onto for community notes. Okay,
yep.
October 18th, I believe, right? October 18th. Forgive me. Prairie Rising Forum. They just sent me the speaker list. Martin Armstrong is coming to Saskatchewan. And forgive me, I know everybody's
read the whole list.
Martin Armstrong, Tiana, Truth Seeker, Wayne Peters, Bryce Wade, Jamie Sinclair, Brett Olin, Matt Errett, Tom Marazzo, Don Lucic, Zach Schmidt, myself. I'm going to be hosting it. And
Brett Olin gave me this hat.
StreamYard just added this feature, so I don't know how it'll work. But if you there's a barcode. I guess that takes you right to the
QR
website.
Code. Yes.
QR code, barcode.
The first good QR code. Take
there
advantage of it, folks.
So if you go there, that takes you right to the Prairie Rising website. They're selling tickets till October 4th. You can't buy tickets at the door. So if you want to get into this thing, Martin Armstrong is going to be back in Canada, which I think is pretty wild. And then not to mention Tiana and the rest
he's going
of the
to
group.
Regina.
He's going to Regina. So if you're interested in that, Saskatchewan folks, the barcode's there, Prairie Rising.
Like that's a hell of a lineup.
PrairieRisingForum.ca is where you want to go. So that is coming up here in October.
That'll end up being bigger than We Unify.
And then October 25th, Rod Giltaka, after a conversation yesterday, he's coming to Lloydminster. He's going to be Prophet River's Customer Appreciation Day on the 25th. And on October 26th, myself, Rod Giltaka, Chuck Prodnick, maybe a couple others. I'm trying to work on Tews. So Tews, here's your open invite. We're going to go shoot some guns. So we're working on where that's going to be. But if you're interested in, being around Rod Giltaka, Chuck Prodnick, and others, while we fire off some firearms, probably at a gun range north of town, I would assume. But once I have more details on that, that's October 26th. Go to the trap
shooting at Kit Scotty.
Sure. The Mash Spiel, January 17th. This is why I did not want to announce this way back when, because then now we're here.
That's why you didn't want me to?
Yeah, because you blew it open. It's fun. But we haven't. Do we have all the details? No, we don't have all the details. Kalmar Curling Club, January 17th. We will have more details on 178, but mark it on your calendar if you're interested in coming to play a little curling and be around the Mashup crew.
So if you don't know where Kalmar is, it's just past the Edmonton airport.
Correct.
So
Quick Dick McDick live November 22nd. Once again, I'm going to try this QR code thingy out. I guess you can go there and it takes you
QR code.
Different QR code. It takes you to where you can buy tickets for that. He's going to be live. All the funds raised that night going to the Lashburn Playground. And we got the SMP Christmas party coming December 20th. If you're interested in a table, shoot me a text. And then the Cornerstone Forum is official March 28th in Calgary. More details to follow, along with speakers coming out. So there's a whole list of community events going. I don't know. I should check my phone and see if anybody sent me anything. Twos, you got any other ones?
I don't have my phone up and ready, but the Longview counselor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I'll pull it up. Give me a sec here, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't mind us. Okay, tell you what. While he's finding that,
Shannon Hines.
I'm Evan Solomon. Look at me. I'm Evan Solomon.
Shannon Hines is running for school trustee in Ward 1 of Foothills School Division, which includes the towns of Longview and Diamond Valley. Sorry. She believes doing the basics of education well and putting as much personal and resources on the front line. And election is on October 20th. So shout out to Shannon Hines and all the others running in those elections as well. Kudos to you. Tip from
there's
this
some good people out there. There's some
and
good
forgive me if
people
I missed any community events. Is there any community notes in the comments? I mean, we had a crazy amount today.
Yeah, there is. Well, first off, you didn't read the one last week where the NDP was having a big event. But here, CanadianBreadSettlement.ca. Sean Rue is running for councillor in MD of Wainwright Division 7.
Drew McKay is running as well. So
why are we mentioning all of this?
I know. Well, I'm bringing it up right now, Twos. Why do you think come on? Oh, is right. Oh, okay. Anything else, Twos, before we let everybody out of here?
Yeah, here. Let me just present this real quick. Really important event. Carla Beck, I'm so excited for this. Emoji. 4 NDP leaders and the one and only Brian Top coming together to talk about our future. Don't delay. Get your ticket today at saskndp.ca/reception-beck. Saskatchewan New Democrats. A conversation with premiers in waiting. Now, I don't know who that's going to be because the only people on there are NDP, but it's going to have Claudia Chender, who's Nova Scotia, Naheed Nenshi, the leader of the Alberta NDP, Carla Beck, Saskatchewan NDP, and Merritt Stiles, the Ontario NDP, hosted by NDP strategist Brian Top. Now, I don't know if they've got some other premiers they've got some actual premiers in waiting that are going to be going, but if they do, it could be a good event. It's interesting that
Mashup live on location at Premiers in Waiting.
Yeah, October 4th, 2025. Get your tickets now.
I think I got better things to be doing. Ugh.
And did you see what they booked for it? They booked TCU Place. I think that's a little bit optimistic.
Well, maybe it is, maybe it doesn't. Who knows?
Well, the thing about it is you can't just move chairs around. You can't hide the fact that there's going to be more empty spaces in the seats than in the teeth. And
folks,
that's saying a lot.
Thanks for hopping on with us, Mashup 177. We're here every Friday morning, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Tuesdays,
and
as
Evan
always.
Solomon, if you're watching, have a great day.
Yes. Tues, as always, great seeing you. Folks, thanks for hopping on and joining us. If you enjoy the show, please share it with a friend or retweet it on X or all the lovely things. We're back on YouTube today, Tues, on my YouTube. Hey, I guess we're back there for a couple days anyways, folks.
Nice. We'll
anyways,
get off.
Thanks for hopping on. Tues, as always, we'll catch you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, pop and lock and salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the Mashup. Welcome to the